Hey everyone, this is John Sarantino, the designer and host of Wellfed. By now, you've probably heard the recent news of the coronavirus. I hope you, your friends, and family are all safe and healthy. I wasn't planning on doing this series, but I'm sure, just like me, you're also trying to adjust to this. Before the weekend, I spoke with a few friends of the podcast to see how this is affecting them and what they are doing to adapt. I hope you enjoy this series I'm calling Create From Home. Alex Center, thank you so much for joining me today. As things are super crazy right now in New York, especially with the virus outbreak and everything like that, I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me, how you're dealing with the outbreak, especially having been a guest already on the podcast. So thank you for joining me today.
What's up, John? How are you?
I'm good. Alex, first thing I'd love to ask, you own a studio, you operate a creative and branding studio center. The studio has about 6 or 7 employees now. You guys are growing. How has it been, leading this business and working remotely? Like, how has that changed for your studio?
It's funny. It's been about a week, maybe 2 weeks total since we've sort of started to really take this, not just us, but as a society very seriously. And I think I was taking it sort of day by day. At first, really trying to hold on to us working together, and trying to have a somewhat normal routine of people in the studio. And I think it took a turn, obviously, last week where it became unsafe to be in groups and to sort of ride the subways and things like that. And so I think it was obviously a very easy decision just to kind of have everyone work from home, as soon as it became sort of the normal. And so I think obviously even over the last week things have gotten sort of progressively more serious, and things have become, sort of more and more unknown. But I consider us really fortunate. I just keep saying how lucky we are because as a business and as designers, right, we can do our jobs, in our apartments, right? Like as a group, I love and running a small team. I love being in the studio. I love having the sort of interactions, the face to face and just the studio environment. And it's impossible to sort of, sort of replicate that with Google Hangouts or anything like that. But we don't have to shut down, right? Like we can continue to do the work that we have, been doing for the last 2 years and, service our clients in the same way that we've been, doing for the last, like I said, two years. This is, sort of new business for me. And obviously I've never experienced anything like this, but I consider us lucky that we can continue to do the things we do. And it's not great because we're separated and most of my team is, at home. Some people, scattered across the country even just to like get away from New York. But,
Is there
we're
anything?
still,
Is there
we're
anything
still
that you guys
working.
are doing to, like, you and I'm sure we do very much enjoy that FaceTime and the kind of laughs that you can have in the studio and things like that. Is there anything that you've changed to kind of emulate that same experience or emulate that? Are you guys having just, instead of having a formal meeting over Google Hangouts, is it just to like connect and see how everyone's doing, especially, as the leader of the studio?
Yeah, I mean, every morning we have a 10 a.m. Google Hangout, and we don't have a team meeting every day when we're in the studio. We just kind of come together and just talk and, sort of do it informally. But now we have this like formal 10 a.m. sort of like group chat, and, it's always, it's fun to a certain extent, right? You get to see inside people's houses, and, there's a sort of, there's an energy to a group Google Hangouts, in certainly in certain times. But, yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we have been, making sure that we see each other every day with sort of lots of, more video chats and Google Hangouts than we would typically ever do. And then, I think get our processes a little bit smoother in terms of like, using Excel docs for each project and sort of like planning who's on what and who's tackling what, assignments, what the immediate dates are. And, using Slack more, right? When we're a small studio and we're all in one room. So there's, Slack is kind of ridiculous when you're sort of sitting on the other side of someone, you're like, hey, send me that file, and, oh, the client needs this. And, now we now we're using Slack
It's very
much
interesting
more than
because
we ever were. So I think when it all settles down and life goes back to normal, which hopefully will be soon here, like I think we'll be a stronger, better studio because of this. So
it's very interesting that you say that. I mean, I'm very conscious. I've been inside the studio and I know that. But it's interesting to see that like now you're put in a situation where you have to kind of adapt a mess, something like Slack, and you know, it's almost something you take for granted when you're able to just yell across the desk and say, "Hey, Kevin or whoever, what are you working on?" Whatever it may be.
yeah.
Um, how you had mentioned that you're still working. We are very fortunate. We have the freedom to work remote.
Yeah.
You're very much still working with clients. What has been the reaction for, say, some of your clients? Have any projects been put on pause? Are actually clients reaching out to you as someone that is working with brands? Are they looking to you to have more input on content and things like that?
So both. First day, we had a client project get put on hold. It was something we've been working on for the past month or so, and it wasn't sort of a critical project for them. It wasn't necessarily a critical project for us. It was something we were excited about making, obviously, but it was just something that uh, was extracurricular for the brand, and so that was the first thing that was like, okay, these times are uncertain and we don't know what's going on, and it was actually a sports related project and sports are completely suspended. So they were like, okay, literally, I think Monday morning, I got a call from a client. It was like, hey, we're going to put this project on hold. And yeah, I mean, that was certainly a little nerve wracking just thinking that like, hey, I hope this doesn't happen to too many others. Because yeah, I think everyone is sort of feeling, uncertain and nervous and scared of what the future is. And, sometimes like the work that we do is launching brands and new products and production, and there's a lot of stuff that's going to be good. It's going to be affected, and our work is a part of that. So on the other side, we actually just started working on a new project today with a client of ours who is reacting and sort of moving in real time and wants to do something that is actually sort of helps their business because they're a retail store that obviously is shut down here for the time being, and so trying to figure out what to do and how to sort of engage their audience and bring people back into the brand in this time. So that's kind of fun and exciting to work on projects that help brands sort of get through these times and to find creative solutions and to kind of do things sort of, in a virtual way.
Completely. I mean, have you, obviously, I'm sure you're also feeling the effects of this, like scrolling on Instagram or whatever social platform and consuming more content now that we are home and we're looking for outlets to kind of take our minds off of some of the news and things like that. As I've been doing that, I've also noticed that, you know, you see the moments that brands are pushing more sales and things like that, and to me that can be kind of fall on deaf ears. It's not necessarily the reaction that maybe you or I could potentially would like to see from brands. Have there been any moments or interesting things that have been kind of that have been produced by brands that were sort of like moments of warmth or you know sincerity that you thought were good, from brands and things like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't think I could talk about it though. Jackie is asking. I don't think I could talk about what we're doing. I wish I could, and oh, thank you. See, this is my second half of my brain. Yeah. So two of our clients have done actually something really great. Conbody is the gym
Yes.
founded by sort of ex-convicts, and so they have had their sort of online streaming sort of business for actually about a year now. They've actually been doing live classes because they only have one location in New York, and people want to engage with the brand and people want to sort of take classes. So they've been actually doing live streaming classes, and they've actually had things sort of set up where it's like $9 a month, and you can kind of just take virtual classes. And so the second that sort of they were unable to resume their sort of in person workouts, they've just shifted totally over to virtual workouts, and it's been really kind of cool to see, people reach out to me and been like, hey, yeah, I started taking Conbody, virtual classes because I saw the work that you did, or, you put me onto the Conbody. And so, Conbody is the first one, sort of shout out to them, because they're always hustling and always finding ways, to keep their business moving. And then Kin started doing basically like a live show,
I
like sort of
saw it.
a,
I thought it was really
yeah,
great.
yeah, it was super creative and super fun, just to sort of like, Jen is, she's like, the face of the brand, and she's like, painting and doing sort of like a late night show type thing, where she's just like, trying a bunch of stuff out. And, I think I've seen a lot of people and brands trying to engage people more through live streaming. Obviously, we're all stuck in our houses, and we all need, things to do to a certain extent, and we want to stay moving, and we want to stay entertained. And so I think that's the big shift right now that's happening, is like everyone is like, how can we move our sort of business as it stands over to a virtual experience? And not everyone can do that. But I think people are getting creative and trying to figure out ways to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I saw both, Jen from Kin doing the sort of like painting. It kind of reminded me of like a Bob Ross moment, and then
Yeah.
Conbody as well doing online classes. And it's so interesting to see how quickly people are adapting, how businesses are adapting. Do you think this is a moment that will potentially, something like, you had mentioned Conbody has always had this streaming. Do you think
Yeah.
this is something that more businesses will consider to put into play to be a permanent part of their businesses rather than just a temporary moment?
Yeah, I think it will. Honestly, I think, I think we've always had these capabilities, right? I mean, I haven't seen as many people going live on Instagram as they have over the last, week or so. And like, even, entertainers like, John Legend, or like, certain musicians, like doing live streaming sort of shows and things like that. It's like, they could have done this before. There's nothing that, sort of made this impossible in the past. But I think now, maybe as we start to see, people enjoy this. People, like this sort of relationship, I think. And so I don't see why it's taken this to sort of spark that sort of creativity. But yeah, that's what happens in sort of crazy times. Crazy stuff comes out of it. And I think, yeah, I saw a sort of a marketer, if I can call him that. His name is Musa Tarek. He is sort of an internet buddy of mine. He started doing like live Zoom sort of hangouts for, yeah, he's an investor in Jackie. And so he started doing like a Zoom sort of like conference call meeting, but just for the like general public, and sort of just like, had an open link and was just posting on Twitter. And I didn't have a chance to join it, but yeah, it's just like kind of the people reaching out and trying to connect with one another, and that's awesome.
Maybe that's something I'll try and jump on for my Friday night activity. As you work with, you have the people that work, the employees, the people that you work with in the studio. And I know you've mentioned on the episode that we did earlier this season how you work with partners and other freelancers all over social media and people that you see. I guess, the one thing I'm asking everyone is like, how can someone who's in the creative industry that might be younger in their career, how can they come out stronger during this time? Like, what is the big thing that they can be working on or trying to improve on, as some may see this as a time, to look inward and actually improve on or learn something new? What would be something that you would suggest?
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious, like, your own case studies and portfolio and website. Like, if you have a little bit of time now, I mean, that stuff is always, it's hard to find the time for that type of work. And so, I think now is probably, if you're sitting at home thinking like, how can I use this time for my, sort of my career and my personal brand? Like, it's what better time than now to be sort of like holed up in your sort of home and just thinking about, sort of, yourself, I guess. And so I think there's always that. And then I think, designers, in many ways, right? We can solve so many problems and help people out. And, I think I would, if I was a designer or freelancer, right? Like, try to reach out to people, reach out to studios, or reach out to other designers that you admire, or reach out to restaurants, or a lot of people could use a little bit of help right now. And so um, I can't imagine. I've had some people reach out to me and say, "Hey, look, I know things are a little weird right now, but if you need a helping hand, like, or you need someone that you know um, you know is available, I got time." So yeah, I mean, I would recommend focusing on yourself, and maybe see if you can find others that need help. I mean, it's very uncertain, right? It's all very weird and scary, but I'm hopeful that it'll go back to normal sooner. Maybe I'm optimistic, but
No,
uh,
totally. I think that's. I mean, I think that's great though, because I think it's coming from from the source that you've even had people reach out to you and just mention, hey, if at any chance you need a helping hand, I know things are tough. Like, and that has been something that you've found, or that you've found helpful. And I think that's great to hear from someone that is owns their own studio, works with brands every day. For younger creatives and younger freelancers to also just have that confidence in doing so. Um, yeah, go ahead.
why not? I mean, what's the worst thing to happen, honestly? And yeah, I mean, I think as designers, right? Like, we can work from home, right? Like, a lot of freelancers, people I've spoken to, it's like, we work with like web developers that are freelancers and things like that. It's like, this is just the same. This is like life as normal for them, and this is obviously changing the world for everyone else. But a lot of designers work from their home offices and work from home, every day. All you need is computer and hands and a brain, I guess. So it's like, you can, you can kind of, we're very lucky. That's all I'll say, is that we can continue to do our work. It's the world around us that's shifting and changing. And so, how do you help out those businesses that really do need it in this time? And maybe work on a project that's pro bono, or work on, yourself.
I think this even this so much that this time is maybe consider taking more video calls like this for the podcast. As we wrap up, I know we've already talked about how you have adjusted owning your own business and having employees and people that you take care of. I know that Jacqueline, your partner, also owns her own business and has a small team that she's very close to. Now that you two are both in the same, kind of in the same area working from your apartment, how have you had to adjust? Like, what has that been, and how has that affected you, and what are the other things that you're doing to kind of cope with that?
Yeah, I'm taking a lot of my calls from the hallway. I mean, it's that has been the thing that has been the biggest change. It's like, Jackie and I obviously own two businesses, and we have a lot of team members, and we typically do it fairly with a good amount of distance between us physically, and now we're doing it sort of back to back. And our apartment is doesn't have any rooms, zero. The only door is for the bathroom. So even this conversation, she's listening to it entirely. And so uh, whoa. So yeah, we're very, very, she's seeing me like run my team and my business, like, in a way she's never seen before. And I'm watching her do her thing, and run her company, and do her boss things. And so in some ways it's really fun, and to like sort of like just be sort of back to back computers working. And then sometimes it's like, I need I need quiet and time. And I actually I took there was a call that I had yesterday. I took it outside of our apartment. We live on the first floor, and so the Wi-Fi still works on the street. And so I just took the call and did a video chat just like outside of our window, on the sidewalk outside of our apartment. So I mean, it's yeah, desperate times right now. And yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it's a lot of meetings happening in our office, or in our home, much more than ever before. So, but we're making it through, and it's been fun. I also work in, my studio's in Greenpoint. I live in Clinton Hill, so um, I'd be lying if I said I didn't make a couple of trips over to the office. I have a car, so I don't have to see too many people. And so running to the studio, just to have a little bit of that, yeah, just to sit in there and not feel like everything is insane. But from what I've heard, today is the last day to like to that you're supposed to go to your non-essential workplaces. So
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think the Center Design Studio is a essential workplace. For me, it is for my sanity, but I think I'm gonna stop going outside.
Totally. Well, Alex, thank you so much for,
Yeah,
taking the time today. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy. Jackie, love you, and I hope you stay safe as well, Jackie.
hey man, keep doing your thing, man. Keep hustling.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk to you soon, Alex. Thank you.
Later, Don.
If you're looking for more information about the virus, please visit cdc.gov. If you're looking for someone to talk to because you're unsure or you have a story you'd like to share, you can always DM me on Instagram at Wellfed Podcast. You can also join me on this app I found called House Party. It's a video game app that uses your camera, and it's really helped me take my mind off the news and stay connected with people. You can find me on there at John Sorre. That's JONSORRE. As always, this podcast is produced by me, John Sorrentino, and my friend Kevin Bendis. Everyone stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next episode.